Alex Michelson, who's been on the ground there since, I believe, yesterday, Sunday. And Alex, how is it a little different from inaugurations you may have covered in the past? And just kind of what is the mood there at the moment?
Well, I smile when you say how is it different from inaugurations in the past, because it's completely different in every way than inaugurations in the past. When you think back on, say, the inauguration of Barack Obama, which was also, of course, the inauguration of Joe Biden as vice president, there were 2 million people on the mall right behind us, 2 million tourists that came to see that event happen in person. This time, the mall is closed and there are no tourists allowed at all. They've been replaced by troops, some 25,000 troops on the streets of Washington, D.C. Most of the streets around the Capitol are closed. For most inaugurations at this time, tourists would be heading into the Capitol, trying to get their tickets, interacting with their members of Congress. Now, none of that is allowed. Everything about this inauguration is different, but there are a few things that will be the same. We still will have that inauguration platform. There's still going to be some music, and Joe Biden is expected to take that oath at high noon in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday.
And Alex, I was kind of curious as well, have you talked to any of these National Guard troops throughout the day? How are they passing their time? How are they spending their time? We've seen some of these videos of them kind of marching in uniform and in unison, but from your sense, kind of, what is their day-to-day at the moment?
I mean, I think their day-to-day for most of them is sort of a show of force, and some of that may be symbolism to send a message to people that they are here and that they are not going to allow what happened on January 6th to happen again. They are, polite to people and kind when you see them on the street, but they also are sending a message that, don't mess with them and don't mess with the security that is in place. There are different levels of security depending on where it is. Real close to the Capitol, it's basically nobody's let in unless you have a specific pass that allows you there. A little farther away from the Capitol where we are, you need to show proof of working around there or some reason while you're here. And then a few blocks away from where we are, things are opened up. Technically, but most of the city is shut down. So many of the restaurants are shut down. They're boarded up. And a lot of people that live here have tried to leave town to not be a part of this, which is usually the opposite during an inauguration.
Yeah, and usually I kind of am wondering of the economic impact just around, the inauguration every 4 years. The nation's capital really makes such a party out of this, and people come in from all over the country and the world, rather. And there's really no one, for reporters, MOS, really, for you to talk to, is there? Or are people kind of just out of curiosity trying to get a sense of what this looks like and what the Capitol kind of barricades look like? Have you kind of run into anyone who just stumbles upon it just to get a sense of, what they're observing?
So MOS, for people that don't work in the news business, is man on the street interviews, which you do in a situation like this. When you're here for a regular inauguration and there are literally 2 million people in the streets, that's pretty easy to do. Now it's a little bit harder. We did talk to some of the locals who live around here who biked or walked nearby to try to check out what this looks like, to take pictures of the National Guard and to see it for themselves. A lot of them are sort of stunned to see it for themselves, but also are appreciative that the National Guard is here and that they're bringing a sense of calm to the city after there was so much chaos before. But the streets, for the most part, are empty, and that is kind of how the mayor of Washington wants it to be. Her message to people was stay away from the city, and it seems like so far a lot of people are.
And Alex, just lastly for you, from someone who's covered inaugurations before, who I'm assuming is quite the history and politics buff, what are you kind of looking forward to or excited to see, the traditions that are still going to be there We know Biden is going to be at the Lincoln Memorial tomorrow to kind of hold this memorial service for victims of COVID-19. But on Wednesday, on the ceremony itself, what do you get excited for when we watch these, events of history unfold, really?
Well, I enjoy the pomp and circumstance. I mean, what are the things that I think is most interesting about inaugurations is that there is this long tradition of the former presidents from both parties coming together to celebrate their successor. President Trump has chosen not to be a part of that. He's the first president in well over 100 years not to be a part of that, which is kind of in line with the way that he's viewed the presidency. But the other ones will be there. And something that we haven't seen before that's going to happen on Wednesday is that soon to be President Biden and Presidents Obama, Bush, and Clinton are all going to go together to Arlington National Cemetery, to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and to honor our military. As far as I know, that has not happened on Inauguration Day before, because usually you have the parade and all the rest of it, which is not happening this year. So that could be a really intimate and emotional moment, and a show of bipartisan support for our military that I think is going to be a really memorable moment.
Yeah, I think for most Americans, before I let you go, it'll be kind of a surreal moment, not really getting to see that symbolism of the outgoing president and first lady welcoming the incoming. So that, to me anyway, will be quite unfortunate, but and surreal a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
But we will see Mike Pence, the Vice President of the United States. He is committed to coming, and we know that he's going to be a part of that, and there's going to be a farewell to him as well. Of course, Donald Trump is going to be holding his own farewell party at Joint Air Base Andrews that morning, and then he's going to get out of town before Joe Biden takes center stage.
All right, Fox 11's Alex Michelson, not in Los Angeles tonight, but in our nation's capital. We thank you so much for joining News Now from Fox.
Yeah.
All right, and we are going to go eventually back out to Washington State to finish up that press conference.